Hi all, those who are here. Good afternoon. Please confirm if I am clearly audible and screen visible. Someone please do the honors. Okay, thank you. What I will do is, okay, let us start off with MNIST. Yes, that's the idea that you do it by yourself, but if there is you need clarity, that I can just definitely talk in. Okay, let's get the problem first. Let's try to understand what it is that we are required to do. What do you think we are required to do here? Okay, first tell me just one line or two liner about what did you get from this? All this problem statement, this and that. Did it make any sense to you? This problem statement. Hmm. Okay, the problem statement. The basic idea is about can we identify handwritten digits, and we don't have to do this manually. Could you see any practical utility of this? First things first. Could you? If this is a kind of computer vision, yeah, image recognition, what we call it. No, Sumit, it is not unsupervised learning. First things first, you get these things right. Had it been unsupervised learning, maybe I have handwritten 9, and depending upon its cluster, it can be anything. It can be D, it can be P, it can be inverted 6, it can be whatsoever. It can be a fat comma. It is not unsupervised learning. I have already told that these are digits. So my algorithm knows it has to classify this into 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 9. It is a digit, end of the day. So target variable is there. So it is supervised learning. That's one. Coming to practicality of this kind of exercise, just imagine a university having thousands of students across country. Just imagine a university having 20 courses. Each course has 3 years or 4 years as their first, second, third years kind of thing. And there are 100 college, each college having 300, 400 students. Just imagine their evaluation. Maybe at a later stage you can develop something sophisticated. Initially, how their evaluation is going on. Their faculty is checking their answer sheets. Yes, they have written something, and depending on that, their faculty has written a digit there: 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5. You're getting this, right? 1 out of 2, kind of. If it is just MCQ or something, it is 1. The idea is there are several exams which are subjective type, and your faculty is manually analyzing it, or okay, that you cannot you cannot bypass that step. You need a faculty there who will identify how good this answer is, and what should be, and a faculty only can be the judge of that, because it is subjective. But what after that? Suppose your faculty has awarded, there were questions that they have awarded 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Then there were some questions where they have marked like 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5, that kind of thing. They have done that. And they have, done that. And now all these copies are resting somewhere. Now somebody will have to take the pain, to structure that. Yes or no? A university will need some structure to this, some standard format, that these were the students, this was the subject, this was the year, this was the question number, these were the total marks, and out of these, this much marks are obtained. Can you think of it? How painful this process is if they have to do it manually. You realize that, right? The faculty has given a digit, it is handwritten. Who will identify if it is 9, or is it 8, or is it 5? Just try to imagine the pain if it were to be done manually. And actually, it is done manually. What if I have an algorithm which can do the same? Just tell me. Won't it be fantastic? Won't it be amazing? It will be. So that's the problem here is, what they have done is, they are trying to feed so much data to an algorithm. They are trying to give ample data to an algorithm that it has many types of handwritten 9. My algorithm will see, okay, 9 can be written this way. Which way? 9 can be written this way. 9 can be written this way. Somebody writes 9 this way. Somebody writes 9 this way. Some write in big fonts, some write, tiny letters. And if my algorithm learns that, okay, these all are 9, so these are handwritten, somehow it recognizes that this is 9, and it gives the digital 9 there. And if it can do for all the digits from 0 to 1, I think we are bang on if this happens. Yes or no? This is what we are trying to do. So how they have done it? If it is a handwritten picture, if it is a handwritten digit and we have taken a picture, of this like this. It is an image, and we divide this image into what? Pixels. 28 by 28 means 28 columns like this, and 28 rows like this. This is the first step towards computer vision, which you are taking in this MNIST dataset. In Python, you will see there is a hell lot more complexity to this, but for now, let's keep it simple. So this way you have 28 by 28 pixels, and for each pixel, you have recorded the ink intensity. What is the density of ink? What is the place of ink in this coming up? How much this, this one pixel, how much ink is occupying this space in this cell? And you have denoted it by, it varies from 0 to 255 typically. You measure that density of ink in this scale, and that is recorded there. This is what you are this is the thing you are available, you are provided with. So if in the hackathon, in that Analytics Vidya hackathon, you are provided with images, you have to convert those images into this kind of thing. What I have provided you is, it is the data itself after image conversion. Okay. Next, they are saying that, okay, if you can identify these digits, you have to train your model from train data, and you have to test your model on test data, and they are not mentioning, they are not forcing you to use any particular model. That is up to you. The choice is with you. ठीक है जी, ये था प्रॉब्लम आपका. Let's check the data. You have a train data and a test data. Test data here is, in a way, this is validation data set. It has target variable. So I'm reading it with read underscore CSV, not read.csv. If you try to read it by read.csv, you will realize that it is way too much more time consuming, because the data set is huge. You will see. Okay, it has taken enough time. It is a 100 MB file, the train.csv itself. Then there is test.csv. Okay, it's also there. Well, if I check head of train dataset, you realize the number of rows and columns. What is the size of your dataset which you have received? Yes. So if you check this for once, there are 785 variables. How come? How come 785? Yes, 28 by 28. So these are pixel values, 784. And then there is one target variable. So that's how 785 variables. So this your first column, this is your target variable where digit is written. So these are the pixel values, and finally you are telling your model that actually it means digit 5. So depending on the densities in these various pixels, you should know that this digit becomes 5 when we convert this to image. This becomes a 9, this becomes a 4, and so on. You got the idea? So this is the data set. If I show you test data, the head of test data, okay, more or less the same. Here I have to validate. I don't want my model to see this data. They have given me this data to validate my model. Again, this time I will predict basis these pixel densities, and I will see that if my model predicts a 7, actually it is a 7. Let's see if my model predicts a 7. My model can make mistakes, no? It can think it is 1. They look very similar. Kind of these kind of mistakes may be there. So I will validate with test data set. This is the idea behind. Now tell me what is the confusion? Somebody, what didn't you get here? Would you want to try? I'll tell you what are the possible things possible pointers which you can you know you can think in those directions. Someone, please. Anything. If you were trying, you must have faced some problem. There must have been something that you didn't get where to go from here. Yes, Siddharth, that's pretty much obvious by the problem statement. They have taken image of that handwritten digit and they have divided that into 28 by 28. So eventually we have 28 by 28. Oh, Prasoon, you wanted to plot the pixels and not exactly what will you do if you plot the pixel. Your algorithm doesn't run on image. That was the problem in the first place. If you want the plots, you can get it from that analytics with them. You will end up having the images of handwritten digits. You will have thousands of images of handwritten digits. Get the idea right. Here comes Shubham with first thing. What are the pointers which you should look into? First thing, do we need to check for outliers? Well, this depends on algorithm we choose. Yes or no? Maybe I can do KNN here, but if I choose to do KNN, there will be a couple of problems there. Number one, KNN is sensitive to outliers. That's one. Second, KNN is lazy learner. Just look at the amount of the data you have. You have some 60, 70,000 rows and you have some 700, almost 800 variables. Just imagine more than 700 dimensions, and then there will be a scatter plot of 60,000 points, and then there your KNN will be doing nearest neighbors. Think about it. Think about it. There is bigger problem. If you are to treat outliers, again look at the amount of the data you have. Till what time? Using 700 columns, you will create 700 box plots or maybe quantile plots or and whatnot. Without outlier treatment, you cannot have KNN. Or you know, some regression kind of, you don't have that facility. If you start treating outlier, well, I think it will take a week before you are ready to do something fruitful. Yes or no? You will treat outlier for days. What else it can be? Maybe it can be a condition-based, probability-based model. We know that. Yes, they are immune to outliers. Or maybe we can go ahead and use support vector machines. Yes, no, maybe. You remember that, right? Your support vector machine, in your support vector machine, all that matters is support vectors. Yes or no? If there is an outlier here, it doesn't matter. If there is an outlier here, it doesn't matter. Lo and behold, you are anyway going to have same classifier. ये outlier होता है या नहीं होता? Correct? तो एक problem solve करता है support vector machine. Second, what you already know. Your support vector machine craves for data. We know that it works well when we provide huge amount of data. It becomes unstoppable. The more the dimensions, more worthy support vector machine is. Yes. Let's see if I were doing it, how we will do it. You already know. First of all, there have to be some treatment. So I am binding these two data sets, train and test, so that I can clean them up altogether. And I will worry about that later. I have just to train and validate. I will segregate them later on. Yes. Hanji, what can be another problem? There is one more beautiful thing about this data. There is no categorical variable. The target is categorical, that is 0, 1, 2 up to 9, but all others are pixel densities. That's pretty much sorted. Another reason to go for support vector machine. Yes, we know that. अरे देखा था ना, उसकी एक प्रॉब्लम थी कि कैटेगोरिकल डेटा, अगर इफ योर डेटा इज मोस्टली कैटेगोरिकल, सपोर्ट वेक्टर मशीन विल नॉट डू, doesn't doesn't gel, doesn't go along with categorical data. But when you have most of your data is, not most of, in fact all of your data is numeric, it is continuous, it is pixel density, so it is another pointer that you should go for support vector machine. That also seems a valid reason. Yes, uncle, that's why wherever you were trying, and you must be struggling with support vector machine, so that is one of the reason. That is not entirely all the reason, but that is one of the reasons. Then there is you are realizing that you are getting the idea how I am deciding that I should go to support vector. I'm looking at my data set, I'm looking at my business problem, and then I'm working towards which model to choose. What else is a concerning thing? We have talked about this, that I am very much interested in importance of my variables. Which variable is a factor in this prediction? Yes or no? In practical data sets, we have seen this many a times. So many a times I am very much interested in that which factor is impacting my target variable. Come to this business problem. These are pixel densities. How does it matter? How does it matter if I am telling my client that should I tell my client that the pixel number 10 into 15, that is very important pixel? What is my client going to tell me? Mr. Chauhan, do you need a break? Maybe see a psychiatrist? Correct. It is of no worth here. And wow, if that be the case, that was one limitation of support vector machine. It doesn't tell me due to which factor it is giving this prediction. However, here it does not matter. All that matters is that digit is identified correctly. Yes or no? Only that matters here. Let's go ahead. Let's see. Let's see what all we can do. What are the things we can check in here? I have seen the data. I will, okay, deployer, master data. I have bind some rows so that I can clean this all together. Okay, one thing I saw that I don't want to give names to pixels. That is pretty obvious, but I want to create, yeah, this column number one, it is coming up as x1. Not very intuitive. So let's call it target or digit. I'm calling it digit. There are hundreds of columns. So it has slowed down my machine. And although my machine is very powerful, but it is going slow. Okay, first column name is digit now, and rest are all pixel numbers, and I'm not interested which pixel is which. I want my machine to do the job. Okay, what can be a few concerns if you ask me? By now you must have realized कि manually बहुत ज़्यादा करने को कुछ है नहीं इसमें data में. You just have to clean this data as per one is okay, check for missing values. Not there. Duplicates may be there, so I'm choosing distinct rows only, and let's see what happens. Does something happen? Does it make any difference? Not actually. So that's another good news. You have mostly your data is clean. Okay, then your target variable we are creating as factor, it should be a factor. What else? What else could be a problem? Not a problem, I will not say problem, but what else can you think of just to, make things efficient, make your code efficient, make your analysis efficient? You cannot see manually, but you should have a doubt that it could be the problem here. Think about it. Think about it. Yeah, standardization. That's a good idea here. Yes or no? It is a huge data set. Pixel densities are, although they are on same scale, 0 to 255. We already know that I have pretty much explained. But yet it will help in computation time. Correct? Anything else that could happen, which is very likely here, by the way. Yes, exactly. Siddharth. Wow, that's bang on. Just think about it, guys. I'm dividing a digit into this kind of pixels. You see this? You are seeing my screen. So just imagine if it was 28 by 28. There is a digit written. I don't know why I always keep it 9. Perhaps that's my favorite. I've been doing it long time, and always when this problem comes, I take example of 9. I don't know why. So, okay, just imagine this is a handwritten digit. Now there is another handwritten digit. Somebody writes 7 this way, and then there is another, and then there is another. Can there be some pixels which are always empty? There is a very high chance, and we are talking about 28 by 28. We are this is barely 8 by 10 or something. There's not even that. This is 6 by 8 or 9. And yet you see, there are some pixels which are very likely that they will be always spotless. There will be no ink density there. Yes or no? There is chance. There is a huge chance. There is a very high chance that there are certain pixels that doesn't matter who writes this digit, doesn't matter the font, doesn't matter the digit, and these pixels will remain empty in entire dataset. Maybe a chance. This is a possibility. Problem is I cannot manually check it. What will go wrong if I don't take care of this? Can something go wrong? Actually, nothing is going wrong. It is just that I am making my machine busy unnecessarily. It is unnecessarily analyzing way more directions, way more dimensions in that n-dimensional geometry, where there is no fruit, where there is no data actually, where there is, nothing which matters. Everything is blank. So unnecessarily, I am, wasting time, kind of thing. Unnecessarily, I am, straining my machine, straining my algorithm. Can you think of something? Now comes your part. I will not do it. I will not show you actually. I will do it, but I will not show you. I want you to drop such variables. I want you to drop such variables. You know what will happen? Check this out. This will happen. Your master data has 785 columns. When I drop those variables where there is no ink density, so I have dropped those columns. I am left out with 720 variables. हाँ जी, कुछ काम आसान हो गया मेरा. 65 variables gone. कुछ जीवन आसान हो गया होगा मेरे मशीन के लिए, कितना भी पावरफुल मशीन क्यों ना हो. It is only going to help. Right? If that be the case, then simple. Let's mutate this df. If it is numeric, let's mutate this how? Let's scale it. It's going to take a while, and then I will try to make a mistake. I'll show you. So I think everything in place now. The first is digit, which is factor. Then these are scaled values of pixel density, and this is happening for all 719 columns. Now I am making a mistake. I'm not making a mistake actually. I'm just giving a try. Rather than going to support vector machine, I am going to Naive यार सारी बातें देख चुके हो आप. लॉजिस्टिक रिग्रेशन में यूज करूंगा तो मेरा टारगेट वेरिएबल मल्टीनोमियल है 0 to 9, 0 1 2 3 4, and it has categories 10 categories, one for each digit. लॉजिस्टिक रिग्रेशन could handle only logical category. फेल हो गया. Next option could have been KNN. Now KNN is sensitive to outliers. That's one. Second, with this amount of data, KNN is going to do what? लेट जाएगा. वो वैसे तैयार रहता है लेटने के लिए. Lazy learner है. Right? नेक्स्ट ऑप्शन could have been some conditional based model जहां मेरे को आउटलायर वगैरह ट्रीट नहीं करना पड़ेगा. So out of these I am choosing again I could have multiple choice. It could have been decision tree, it could have been naive Bayes, it could have been random forest. Not k-means, Sumit, again k-means is clustering, it is unsupervised learning. It would have been then it could have worked well if I don't know the target variable. Here I know the target variable. K-means can help if you want to play the trick on K-means. That you can do. Since you already know there is target variable and since you already know there should be 10 clusters, maybe you can give it a try. You know, that could be the question. Why naive base? K मीन्स वो तो अनसुपरवाइज लर्निंग हो गया. नाउ सुपरवाइज लर्निंग में मैंने देखा रिग्रेशन मॉडल्स मैंने बाहर बैठा दिए. कारण था उसका, सब समझ गए. अब मैंने सोचा कि प्रोबेबिलिटी बेस्ड किसी मॉडल से आगे बढ़ते हैं. तो नाइव बेस हो सकता था, डिसीजन ट्री हो सकता था, रैंडम फॉरेस्ट हो सकता था. रैंडम फॉरेस्ट अगेन आउट ऑफ क्वेश्चन बिकॉज I want to avoid random forest for some reason. Why? You see the humongous amount of data. Yes, it will. Yes, it will eat up into my time. So the first model I am choosing, first model, मैं इसके बारे में एक बार और बिल्कुल एक प्रॉपर लेक्चर लूंगा इस बारे में. द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ मॉडल सिलेक्शन, हाउ यू सेलेक्ट, बट यू शुड स्टार्ट गेटिंग अ फेयर आइडिया. I don't want to just jump onto an advanced model because advanced model के अपने बहुत सारे complication होते हैं. It can run up to 2 days. What if after 2 days and I am not getting good predictions? When I validate, I don't get good prediction. Those 2 days are down the gutter. So let's first try some quick model which runs efficiently, which is a quick learner, right? So that मेरे को ये समझ आए कि मेरे पास डेटा भी ठीक ठाक है कि नहीं है, मेरा कोई एल्गोरिथम काम कर भी रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है. Once I have a fair idea, suppose by decision tree or by naive Bayes I attain 70% accuracy. So now I can be very sure that okay, using some advanced model, maybe I will go up to 85 or 80% or that kind of accuracy. ठीक है? So that's why I am trying a quick learner for now. Naive Bayes. Okay, train and test again segregated. Let's see how good is naive Bayes doing here. You see, even naive Bayes is taking time. Also be ready that मैं ये कोड भेजूंगा भी नहीं आप लोगों को. This is something you have to you have to do it by yourself. I'm just giving you idea because many of you said that you tried and still you were clueless in the very first steps. So I hope you are getting the pointer now. Yes, I am recording. You will receive the recording. You will not receive the code. Very fine. Yes, got it. You will receive the milk. You will not receive the cappuccino. That you have to do yourself. Going ahead with predictions by naive Bayes, NP model. And wow, it's taking time. You getting the idea? Even a quick learner is taking so much time. What about lazy learners? Let's take a break here. It's 2:02, so keep a break for 7-8 minutes. It is 2:03. Okay, let's keep it. 11. Okay, let's connect there. VPC. Guys, ping me quickly if you are back. I see response from okay. Kanchana, Siddharth, Prasoon, and Rikta. There should be 4 more responses. Okay, so you got a fair idea about the MNIST dataset, and we will work with support vector machine model now. Naive is we have tried. Maybe you can give it a try with decision tree or random forest also, and then maybe you can check with support vector machine, trying one or the other corner. Coming back to the time series analysis. So yesterday we saw that there could be a time series and we can divide it into several components so that we can take out the predictable part where we can with certain sense of logic we can get a fair forecast. So in this kind of case there could be a what did we call it. Yes, we saw that there can be global components and there can be local components where we can work upon. So within global component, we can have one is trend. Yes, that if I see globally, if I see the whole picture from end to end, there is a but there I can see that there is a trend. Another global pattern which could be there is a global component which could be seasonality. It can also be a combination of both. Combination of both. We saw this also. ऐसा भी टाइम सीरीज आपको देखने के लिए मिल सकता है. Now, what do you think? It is combination of both, right? There is a trend also. There is a seasonal component also. Yes, I will discuss that, Siddharth. Then we saw if we take care of these things, global component which is uh, globally present. If I remove global component like this from this series, मैंने एक linear regression कर लिया होता. Say the predictor variable is time. I have taken that global component out. I will be left with local component only. So this becomes locally the local time series. It does not have any trend. If I take care of local component also, whatsoever it is, let's not worry about it. I will be left with noise only, which is unpredictable part. So noise or white noise. So when I remove all the components, all the predictable components from a time series, I am left with white noise. And at this point of time, what I am saying is that this time series is now stationary. Stationary in the sense, you see, if get the idea of noise right. If it is really white noise, it is something unpredictable, unforeseen, a very random event. So there is no pattern, no trend, no reverse trend, no seasonality, no cyclicity. What do you think it will be like? It will be having a mean zero. Yes or no? प्रेडिक्टेबल पार्ट से कभी ये ज्यादा होगा, कभी कम होगा, ये जो एरर होगा इसके कारण, लेकिन मीन जीरो होगा. And let's say about how much it will vary from this zero mean. This will be more or less constant. In other words, I am saying the variance will be constant. Your standard deviation will be constant, whatever you want to call it. Yes or no? So it will show this type of characteristic. If I take a sample from this time series for different intervals, like this kind of interval, I have taken an interval 50 to 100. So in other words, what I am saying, it will show same characteristics for different intervals. So in this interval, it is showing a characteristics, its mean is something, and it is varying, its variance is something. If I check in a different interval, so more or less it will be the same, right? You are seeing it here. There are two chunks. I am checking in different intervals, and more or less it is the same. It is showing same statistics. या ट्रेंड भी निकल गया, सीजनैलिटी भी निकल गया, ना ग्लोबल कंपोनेंट है ना लोकल कंपोनेंट है, यानी प्रेडिक्टेबल कोई भी ट्रेंड इसमें नहीं है. इस समय कोई भी पैटर्न ऐसा नहीं है जिसके मैं बोल सकूं कि हाँ इसके हिसाब से that basis these past values and I can say what would be the next value. I don't see anything like that here. Now here comes the idea of moving average. We will try to nullify the impact of this. Okay, let's see, let's go to hands-on and we will see what different things we can do with this. Did I send you the data on that exchange rate data? The one we were discussing yesterday. Oh, not yet. Okay, give me a moment. I sent you the dataset. Just download it and open our studio, open a script file. You don't need to code everything. I'll drop code uh, every now and then in between. And let's see how do we do that when we run this in R. What could be done now? This is not exactly the way we. Don't worry about right now, okay? On local and global component, I will come to this. This is actually, it is not something which we do practically. I'm just giving you the idea behind that. What is the mathematics? What is the thought process going into a time series analysis? What is your algorithm doing behind the screen? Okay, so you will not do this manually time and again. We will come to that. So don't worry about it. ठीक है सिद्धार्थ सुमित you can fetch these installations. You can do them later. For now, you don't require them, but install them later. I think Forecast is already with you. You will need to install this graphics also package. We'll come to it later. Well, let's see what are the things here. I'm fetching this data frame, these exchange rates to our environment, and they are looking like this. And we saw that it is data of some 300 months. And this is that we are trying to predict, we are trying to forecast that what is going to be the rate of this particular exchange of this particular commodity in coming months. Now, what are the things important here is, first things first, since you don't have any target, any predictor variable, what is the predictor variable here? Do you have anything? You have nothing but the series of time. Okay. So now we we are into hands-on, so there will be particular things which you will have to keep in mind. So it should not happen that 1, 2, 3, 4, these values are going month on month. These values are going month on month. And in between somewhere, your data is like you have recorded this data at a gap of 6 months. This should not happen. You are getting the idea? These are the values coming with month on month. Now there is a gap of 6 months between these two values. These kind of things should not happen, mustn't happen. So one thing to check around is these months should be in sequence. Number two, these months should be in sequence. That's one. Second, these months should be at equal distance of time. I hope it makes sense. So let's do this. I'm arranging this data as per month. That's pretty obvious. This cannot be, I'm only relying on the chronology of time. I don't have anything else. So I will have to do this right. So I am arranging this data frame in order of months. This month here it is like month 1, 2, 3, 4. It could have been a date. Then you would have converted it into date and time and whatsoever is required. And then you would arrange the data set in order of time. That's one. Second, one thing is taken care of. Your data is now arranged as per time. Second thing, what we said, your data should be at equal interval of time. It cannot jump from month number 6 to month number 10 somewhere and then again continue like month 10, 11, 12 and then again jump from month 12 to 15 somewhere. So let's find this out whether my months are in chronology. How do we do that? Can you do that? Try this out by yourself. अभी तक जो किया है, that's in the chat box. I want you to check somehow whether your months are at equal distance. The idea behind can be your months are month 1, 2, 3, 4. So difference between this and this should be equal to difference between this and this, this and this, this and this. Every next value's difference from its previous value should be equal. Give it a try. Think about it. Can you think of something? I'll wait for a minute here for you to come up with something. Okay, before I proceed, anybody who has done something else other than this, there is one method which Siddharth has followed. It is a combination of if else and sequence, and it is awesome to see. Anybody else who got it with some other logic, maybe? Here it is. Here is another method which I had kept hand ready for you. Had it been Siddharth could not come up with a solution, as most of you are. Check this out. Do you understand this logic? Check this out for once. This one. This is for loop. Does this logic make sense to you? Give it a few seconds. Think about it. Shubham, if you run this loop for iteration 1, 2, 3, or 4, for very first iteration, you will not have I minus 1, which is running in your for loop. It will throw error. Have you tried it? Uh, yeah, I have said it already. Already done. Give it a try first. Mhm. Yeah, don't just sling it around. Give it a try first to check it out, na? Whether it is running or not. It is not running. I know that. Well, you got the idea. Yes, Shubham. Yes, keeping in mind the iteration, you can use any version, maybe I minus one or maybe I plus one. And that's perfectly fine. But you got the idea, right? At least one logic you got in place. Everybody. So when your data is in place, you don't have to do everything. Okay, I'll drop your code. You can just check it out. So let's see the the imagery we saw earlier. What I have done is I have plotted this data as time series. Now I am sure my data is in chronology of time and it is at equal distance, equal period of time. Now I am running the time series and I see that it is a time series something like this. And do we see a global pattern? Is there a global pattern? So yes, there is a decreasing pattern. It is constantly falling. So let's take this out. Let's take this out. So I am building a global fit. I'm calling this model a global fit. It is nothing but linear regression, LM. I am regressing exchange rate with respect to month number, which is in chronology of time now. Data is in time series TF. Very fair. I have used my data set and I will end up fitting a straight line. Correct? Let's check this global prediction. So now there are two things. One is this time series, the actual values. Other one is the best fit line, which is going through this time series, which is essentially the trend here. Let's uh, let's find it out. Converting data frame to time series, it is nothing but it is just a visualization. Plot.ts is the function for plotting time series. I want to treat it as time series. It is as good as line chart. By default, plot function क्या दिखाता है? It shows you scatter plot. And we know that data is still data frame. It is just for visualization purpose. So don't confuse with that. Let's remove this word for all future students. They are thanking you already. No confusion henceforth. Okay. Wow, Shubham, thank you very much on behalf of all future students. Here we go. So we are visualizing data as time series as line graph. We have built the trend model, which is linear regression, and once we predict, what do we see? We see this kind of thing. So that's globally the trend of your data set. Now think about it. I have data set of past 25 years. I want to predict for next couple months. My time series is giving this, this, this value. ऐसी तो दे रही है वो फ्यूचर के लिए. फ्यूचर के लिए यही प्रिडिक्शन तो देगी है टाइम सीरीज स्ट्रेट लाइन. तो थिंक अबाउट इट. पिछले 25 साल से मैं ये डेटा देखता हुआ आ रहा हूँ. सो इसका, इस प्रिडिक्शन का कुछ तो क्रेडिबिलिटी है. मे नॉट बी एग्जैक्ट, बट हाँ, अगले यार पिछले 25 साल से ये ऐसा चला आ रहा है, तो अगले साल ऐसा तो होता नहीं दिख रहा. यहाँ तो नहीं आएगा डेटा पॉइंट. हाँ, यहाँ से ये हो सकता है कि ये जो लाइन मेरे को दिखा रही है, दिस स्ट्रेट लाइन, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द लोकल फैक्टर्स. हाँ, व्हाट मे हैपन, व्हाट मे हैपन, ऐसा हो सकता है कि ये डेटा पॉइंट यहाँ आ जाए, या यहाँ आ जाए, या यहाँ आ जाए. ऐसा हो सकता है, बिल्कुल हो सकता है. यहाँ भी आ जाए, ऐसा भी हो सकता है. बट कुछ तो क्रेडिबिलिटी है. रियलाइज दैट despite you don't have any any predictor, any independent variable, just basis of the global pattern, you can say something about it now. So that's one. बचा क्या? हाँ जी, बचा क्या? ग्लोबल इज टेकन केयर ऑफ. ग्लोबल में से अगर ये जो था तुम्हारा एक्सचेंज रेट, इसमें से हम ग्लोबल प्रिडिक्शन की वैल्यू निकाल दें जो अभी आपकी लाइन ने दिए हैं, तो क्या बचा? वही बचा जो ग्लोबल के अलावा बचा होगा. तो देखते हैं वो क्या बचा है. पहले यहाँ तक आप लोग कर चुके हो, ये और भेज रहा हूँ आप लोगों को, देख लो पहले यहाँ तक. Here in the chat box, I will hold for a minute here. Just run it and tell me if everything clear so far. You end up having, this is the locally predictable part as far as we know of. Now, first things first, do you think it is white noise? If it is white noise, then okay, then we are gone. We cannot do something about white noise. But does it seem like white noise? Yeah, God, you're getting this right. It is showing, to a very decent level, it is showing you some this kind of pattern. Now it may be wobbly. It is wobbly. It is not very clear sine or cos theta kind of thing. But yes, there are some things. There is something happening, and it means, what does it mean? It means there is some predictable part in this current series. So global component that we have already taken care of, we can predict the globally what is going to happen. But there are some local components also which can give me, which can point me in the right direction, and I can take care of them. What could be your approach? What could be your approach here? approach to find out a fit, which is which is finding uh, this seasonal pattern. Can you think of a thing, something here? You got the problem right. Can you locate the problem for now? I'll tell you. Okay, tell me if you are you agree to this or not. When I had this global time series, it had a trend. I built a linear model. It will either go upwards or go downwards. Right? That's all it is going to do. We have taken care of that. It is giving me global trend and we have taken care of that. We have reduced it. Now I am left with this. Now think about it. It does not have trend. So even if I plot it with month, कैसा straight line आने वाला है? Can you think of it? Yeah, trend already taken care of. It is going to be horizontal just like that. Straight line तो ऐसे ही आएगा. Yes or no? So the problem is local prediction. So this can be one failure of the decomposition method. अभी तक हमने क्या देखा था? Decomposition method. We will decompose this time series into global and local, and then finally we will end up with noise. So if I say maybe, just maybe, I am taking sine of month, and maybe I am, I'm exaggerating it to some powers like this, and maybe something. I don't know what is going to happen. Let's see. Again, more or less a straight line. Okay, it is showing some fine pattern. Maybe I can. You are getting idea. Maybe I can. Maybe I will end up with negative of course, plus of sine, log, this, that. Maybe something I will do. What is the problem with that? The onus is on me to find that out. That weird combination of sine into month to the power something, maybe minus cos into something, this and that. Problem है. But if I'm able to do that, so this can be one method. So that's why I said umpteen number of times. You just get the idea behind. This is usually not a practical approach, but you got the idea. This is decomposition method. Could we have done something better? Yes, we could have done something better. ठीक है जी, इस मेथड का तरीका समझ आया और कहाँ गए हमारे चक्के फंस गए वो भी समझ आया और क्यों हम कुछ और सोच रहे हैं अब. वी आर थिंकिंग ऑफ समथिंग एल्स नाउ. So this was classical decomposition method. Another method is we called it we call it ARMA method. Now what is that? That is, हाँ ये वही है जो हम कल भी बात कर रहे थे. Yesterday we started off with तो यहाँ तक सब कहानी कॉमन ही है. अभी तक कुछ डिफरेंस नहीं किया है. And this kind of did appear. The idea of auto regression जो कल आपने देखा था वो क्या कहता था? That value at a particular point, say this point, इस टाइम सीरीज की ये वैल्यू अगर आई है, ये इसलिए आई है क्योंकि इससे जस्ट पहली वैल्यू ये थी और उससे जस्ट पहली वैल्यू ये थी और उससे जस्ट पहली वैल्यू ये थी. समझ रहे हो यार? ये वैल्यू ऐसे नहीं आई कि कल तो इसकी वैल्यू ये थी, फिर परसों इसकी वैल्यू ये थी, उससे पहले इसकी वैल्यू ये थी और आज अचानक से ये हो गई है. ऐसा नहीं हुआ होगा ना? Yes or no? If I am talking about stock prices, if some stock is priced 100 today, it is because yesterday it was maybe 105 or maybe 90 or maybe somewhere. It is not that yesterday it was 50 and today it is 100. That will not happen usually, right? For rare instances, this theory may fail, like this one. Yesterday the price was this, and today the price is this. It may happen in some cases, but how many? How many cases? You have entire series to you. You see that? How many instances are like that? Rarely. In 25 years, you have only a couple of instances like this. One is this, one is this. Just a few. Maybe this, if you are considering it. Even this is not that steep. It is not just like yesterday and tomorrow. It has also taken some time. It has taken a couple of months. So usually this theory sticks. So that is AR, auto regression. How do we find out? How do we find out that how many values should be correlated? मैं कह रहा हूँ this value depends on its previous value. I am saying how many. So there were yesterday we saw there can be lag 1, lag 2, lag 3 and so on. यही idea था हमारा. So it is definitely it is depending on lag 1. But is it also depending on lag 2? Is it also depending on lag 3? How do we find that out? We call it autocorrelation function. We will see that just in a while. Then there is another idea behind this. There can be another idea with this, along with this, which is आर्मा मॉडल. सुना है कहीं? कहीं पढ़ा हो, लिखा हो, देखा हो? आर्मा मॉडल. No, not yet. Okay. Which one, Siddharth? Auto regression thing? Okay, okay. We started off with decomposition method, that can we decompose this series into different components, and finally we will be left out with white noise, and we are good to go. We saw that it is a simple method और समझ भी आता है. The problem is, in practical scenarios it may be difficult to identify local patterns. Even if you identify local patterns, it will be hard to regress it, to create a fit which predicts the locally changing local changes in time series. So there is another method which is ARMA method. We are working on that. ARMA method, what is the theory behind, what is the idea behind ARMA method is that if if I have a continuous variable like stock price or maybe sales of my competitor, I do not have predictor variable, but I am very much sure that other if this value is here today, if it is value today, it will depend on a few values just before this day. Yes or no? In a practical scenario, Siddharth, maybe you are getting this. So that is the idea behind autoregression, that my target variable is regressing with itself. It has a correlation with itself, with its own previous values. So previous values, now this is the just one value before, this is two values before, this is three values before. So these are lags, we are calling it lag 1, 2 and 3. Right? We will worry about these lags, what to do and what not to do with them, just in a moment. तो आर्मा मेथड के पीछे रीजन क्या है? तो मेरे आज की वैल्यू में, इफ दिस इज द प्राइस ऑफ दिस स्टॉक टुडे, आई एम कॉलिंग इट डे जीरो. I am calling it day zero, right? And I am saying it is, in a way, it is equation कैसा कैसा equation है ये? If this is a constant, x1 into price of last day, lag 1 plus, or maybe I should remove this first. Maybe I should show you on notepad. तो ऑटो रिग्रेशन का आइडिया क्या रहा? हम कह रहे हैं द प्राइस ऑफ टुडे is a function of, in some way, it can be this a constant into price of yesterday, lag 1, plus b into price of day before that, maybe c into price of before that, and finally maybe some noise का तो कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते. अभी कुछ समझ आया? आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि बिल्कुल अच्छे से क्लियर हो गया होगा, लेकिन आइडिया आ गया आप लोगों को समझ? डिकम्पोजिशन करने के अलावा हम दूसरा क्या आइडिया लगा रहे हैं? हम कह रहे हैं हम दिमाग ही नहीं लगाते कि पैटर्न क्या था और ट्रेंड क्या था और लोकल क्या था, ग्लोबल क्या था. हम कह रहे हैं जो भी है, आज जो भी प्राइस है, इन सम वे इट इज फंक्शन ऑफ इट्स प्रीवियस वैल्यूज. अगर नहीं होगा इनका फंक्शन, तो इनके सबके कोएफिशिएंट जीरो हो जाएंगे. सिंपल. If this P1 P2 are prices on previous day, This is 1 day before. This is 2 days before. This is 3 days before. And so on. तो पास्ट में जितने डेज के प्राइस से फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. नाउ इफ आई से HDFC प्राइस इज टुडे समथिंग, डज इट डिपेंड ऑन what was the price of HDFC 100 days before? Not exactly. वो अपना काम कर चुका है. यार समझो, 100 डेज बिफोर जो प्राइस था HDFC का, उसने इम्पैक्ट किस पे डाल दिया होगा? जो 99 डेज बिफोर प्राइस था उस पे इम्पैक्ट डाल दिया होगा. इतना तो समझ आता है. यस और नो? तो 100 डेज पहले जो प्राइस था उससे अगले दिन उसका प्राइस क्या हुआ HDFC का, मे बी उस पर इम्पैक्ट आया, लेकिन आज उस पर कोई इम्पैक्ट आ रहा होगा? डजंट सीम लाइकली. खैर, लेट्स स्टिक टू दिस. सो एक तो ये काम हुआ, एक तो हमें अगर ये चीज पता लग जाए तो बात बन जाएगी. चलो ये देख लेते हैं इसका इंतजाम क्या होगा. So that is auto regression. Now what is MA? We are calling it movie average. मेरी दो प्रॉब्लम्स थी. एक तो ये पता करना कि इनका ये फंक्शन क्या बनेगा. By how much degree these day before prices are impacting my current price. आज के दिन पे मेरे प्रीवियस कितने दिन का प्राइस का इम्पैक्ट आता है और कितना कितना आता है. That's one. Another is another is this noise term. This is really a noise in my head. ये भी परेशान कर रहा है. Yes or no? That's where we take help of moving average. We are calling it moving average. Moving average in the sense, think about it. देखा था आपने थोड़ी देर पहले. Where did it go? Here it is. What we are calling it is, if it is really white noise will contain a property that it's eventually if we take average for a very long time, it will be more or less zero. Since it is happening due to random events. शेयर प्राइस में कुछ फ्लक्चुएशन बिल्कुल रैंडम इवेंट्स की वजह से आ रही हैं, विच आर बियॉन्ड कंट्रोल एंड बियॉन्ड स्टडी. बट ठीक है, ये फ्लक्चुएशंस कभी पॉजिटिव होंगी, कभी नेगेटिव होंगी, कभी पॉजिटिव कभी नेगेटिव. So this graph will, this will constantly, it will be like this. Sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes up, sometimes down. And if I take average for a long period of time, इसकी नेट वैल्यू जीरो हो जानी चाहिए, ऑलमोस्ट जीरो होगी. Seems like this. So if okay, very long period of time doesn't make a sense, but कम से कम मेरे को ये डेली वाला वो ना रहे कि डेली जो अनसर्टेनिटी बना रहता है. एक तो मेरे को ये पता है लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम इट विल इवेंचुअली नलीफाई, बट ठीक है, मेरा इंटरेस्ट है फॉर अ सर्टेन पीरियड ऑफ नियर फ्यूचर. इफ आई टेक एवरेज ऑफ दीज मूविंग टर्म्स, लाइक आज नॉइस इतना है, कल नॉइस इतना था, और अगले दिन नॉइस इतना होगा, एंड आई टेक दैट एवरेज. I think noise terms will cancel out to an extent. Seems likely. Okay, right from the beginning. This is the drill you already know. We have just read the dataset, arranged it in chronology of time, and we have checked that interval is constant. All set. We check the time series visually. It looks like something like this. Now the idea of moving average, you know, every reading, here I'm talking about these three consecutive values, this, maybe this, and maybe this. Just imagine these are three consecutive values. So every term has some noise. सब में कुछ ना कुछ noise है. Yes or no? Something is predictable part. So that is pretty much taken care of. P1 plus P1, P2, P3, that is predictable part. Each one of them is having some noise also. So the idea behind moving average is if I total these terms n1, n2, n3, so this noise will be averaged out. Right? So this is called smoothing the time series. So every day जो ऐसा ऐसा जा रहा था noise, now it will be averaged out. Maybe it will be something like this. So that it will not be that much of a nuisance. That is the idea of moving average. Let's see how we have done it. How I have done it is, let's create a new variable that is, one is the exchange rate column, which is there. I am initiating a new column which is smooth rate, and it has all the values which are in the first uh, reading. So this will look like something like this. It has this value in the first instance. I have created all the values equal to 100 here for now. Next, what I am doing is the last values are also equal. In the dataset, the last value 304 is equal to 304 of the actual exchange rate. The dataset is looking something like this. First reading, that is equal, and the last reading, wheresoever it is, that is also equal. Right? First and last reading are equal. Now what I am saying is, I am saying let's take moving average of 3 terms. यानी मुझे यहाँ पर अगर इसकी सेकंड वैल्यू पे कुछ टर्म लानी है इस स्मूथ रेट में, where I am smoothing this rate, so it will be average of 3 terms. It will be moving average, this, and this. One term before, one term adjacent, and one next term. It will be average of them. So this will moving average of these 3 terms that should come here. What do you think will be moving average of this term? यहाँ पर क्या आना चाहिए? क्या चाह रहा हूँ मैं? कौन कौन सी चीजें आ जानी चाहिए? Just tell me quickly. Which term should add up here and taking average? किन तीन चीजों का एवरेज होना चाहिए? Check this out and respond. Everybody, do you realize? Yeah, one row which should have been here originally, जो डेटा था यहाँ पर, one term before and one term next. You got the idea? So yes, month number 4, 5 and 6. And yes, Shubham, values are also right. Got everybody? So this will become the moving average. Let's do this. हाँ जी, क्या लॉजिक लगाया जाए? मैंने तो कुछ ऐसा लगाया, तुम सोच लेना, मतलब सोचना, फिलहाल देख लो, because there has been there is little time left. What I am saying, I am using the popular the evergreen, the ever faithful for loop. I'm saying j will vary from term 2 up to number of rows -1, यानी लास्ट रो तक नहीं जाना और पहली रो को इंक्लूड नहीं करना। क्यों नहीं करना? क्यों नहीं करना? ये देख रहे हो, मूविंग एवरेज चाहिए था 3 टर्म्स का, इसका मिलेगा, इसका मिलेगा, इससे पहली वाली टर्म है ही नहीं, नहीं मिलेगा। सेम दिक्कत इसके साथ आने वाली है। लास्ट वाली टर्म, ओके ठीक है, लास्ट वाली टर्म मिल गई, प्रीवियस टर्म प्रीवियस में मिल गई, नेक्स्ट टर्म तो है ही नहीं डेटा में, तो यू विल हैव टू एक्सक्लूड फर्स्ट एंड लास्ट टर्म। बाकी पे स्मूथिंग देखते हैं कैसी हुई है। तो व्हाट आई एम डूइंग इज, वही लिया है, देख लो, नो द ड्रिल ऑलरेडी। I don't know if okay, let's do one thing. I will try to make it legible. I am assigning on smooth rate key jth index. Jth index yani it will begin from 2. First is not included and it will go up to second last. Last is also not included. And jth index will be, what will be the jth index? Average of exchange rate on j plus j minus 1 plus j plus 1 and divided by 3. So average of these three terms. Fair? So you have to be attentive to this one. This was your original time series, and this is your time series smooth. We have moving average of 3 terms, and how do you see it? Or maybe can I do something better? I can actually. You see that the series is almost the same. Coming to that, just in a moment. Series is almost the same. However, you know these sharp drops are smooth a little bit. Yes or no? There was sharpness at various, there were spikes upside and downside, and they are smooth now. You are getting the gist? There were spikes which usually happen due to noise, which has suddenly come up from somewhere and we don't know what has caused it. But now those noise terms are taken care of to an extent. So this is called level 1 moving average. This is moving average level 1. Level 1 means one term before, one term after. Got this? अभी थोड़ा सा क्लैरिटी आया इस पे? Tell me one thing, if it is level 1, then we are taking average of 3 terms. What if it is level 2? How many terms are we taking in our average to average out? Can you think of it? Respond everybody. This is the downside of having a session in afternoon. You people have a good amount of lunch and then you are ready to doze off. Everybody got this right. How it is 5? What about moving average of level 3? Correct? Found that out? So that is level of. So when we do ARMA modeling, we talk in levels. So if we generally represent it by like this. अभी जब कोड करेंगे ये अभी मैनुअली करके मैं दिखा रहा हूँ आप लोगों को, मैनुअली करते नहीं है इसको, देखेंगे अभी. So this is usually it is written in syntax like this. So this is order of AR and this is order of MA. So I am building a ARMA model where moving average is of 3 terms. So 3 terms का moving average is of level 3, not 3 terms. Level 3. Level 3 means 7 terms. So moving average will be of that, whereas auto regression will be of 2 levels, yani 2 lags behind. 2 lags yani price of 1 day before and price of 2 days before into something whatever with the coefficient, that kind of thing. अब एक बात बताओ, अगर ये सारा काम ऑटोमेट हो जाए तो बात बन जाएगी. अगर ये कॉन्सेप्ट समझ गए, कॉन्सेप्ट समझा क्या कर रहा है एल्गोरिदम पीछे. अगर ये सारा काम कोई एल्गोरिदम कर दे तो बात बन गई हमारी. यार जो नॉइस आना था वो नॉइस तो तुमने ठिकाने लगा दिया मूविंग एवरेज से. जो प्राइस आना था वो प्राइस तुमने निकाल लिया कैसे, ऑटो रिग्रेशन देख के कि इतने पिछली टर्म्स पे पिछले इतने दिन तक इस प्राइस पे कुछ ना कुछ इम्पैक्ट आ रहा है. 3 दिन पहले वाले प्राइस का इतना है, 2 दिन पहले वाले का इतना और कल का तो इतना है. उसके कॉम्बिनेशन से आपने कुछ निकाल लिया और आज का प्राइस मिल गया विदाउट हैविंग एनी प्रेडिक्टर वेरिएबल. ठीक है जी, बढ़िया. इंटेंस तो नहीं हो गया. I know I am going in certain detail, but I hope I am keeping interest alive. अच्छा, थोड़ा सा भारी हुआ आज. मतलब बोरिंग हुआ कि भारी हुआ. बोरिंग है कि मैं जरूरत से ज्यादा स्लो जा रहा हूँ. When I say intense, intense means कि हाँ थोड़ा सा कि yes, intense mean you. Okay, okay, very fine. Yes, actually it is a very it is interesting topic, but it takes several things into account at simultaneously. And as I usually say, I don't want to go easy on you. I don't want to skip things, and you know, I just don't want you to feel happy that you have learned something without actually learning it. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's call it a day here today itself. Enough for one day. You still have Friday evening for yourself, so go ahead, enjoy some time, enjoy for some time. Meanwhile, I will send some links, some reading material. So whenever you have time over the weekend, go through that. Try to go through that. Just skim through. Maybe you will not get it all, but try to see whatever was being discussed in the lecture, and does it gel with it. Okay, very fine, people. So let's wind this up. I'm turning off recording, and okay, I'm not signing off just now. I'll stay for any query confusion. If there is any, I can take that up quickly. I still have some. I see I have some 10-15 minutes left, so we can look into that. We can use that time. If there is no further query, you are very free to leave. I know you are very excited to run off. It's Friday evening, and it is very pleasant outside. So, well, in that case, you are good to go. Bye bye and take care. Happy weekend. Rest well, enjoy a lot, and we'll connect next week.